In this tutorial, let's see how to disassemble, troubleshoot, and fix your Blue Yeti microphone. Common causes are damaged USB port, damaged USB cable, damaged Blue Yeti microphone digital board, and its components. Let's see how to identify these issues and how to fix them. Let's disassemble this Blue Yeti microphone. To disassemble the Blue Yeti microphone, first you need to remove these screws that hold in the microphone from the stand. Remove the microphone from the stand. Alright, don't lose the washers. And also the O-rings that inside these plastic washers. Alright, it is easy to lose but hard to find. Alright, once you remove the stand, you have the microphone. The next thing you have to do is to remove these knobs. To remove the knobs, I'm going to use a piece of cloth. Wrap the cloth around the knob like that. Then use a pillar. Grab the knob like that. Remove the knob without damaging it. Don't put too much pressure. You may damage the knobs. Right, I'm going to do the same to other knobs as well. The last one is the mute button. You have to pull it out as well. Alright, like that. Turn the mic around. You'll see 3 screws here, here, and inside here. Use a Phillips screwdriver and remove these screws. This screw is sometimes hidden with this rubber pad. You can remove that pad. Once you've done that, now you're free to pull the microphone out like that. Now, alright, that's how we disassemble. Alright, if you want to remove the digital board from the microphone, remove these 4 screws that hold in the digital board of the microphone. Once you've done that, pull the digital board out from the microphone. Alright. To remove the analog board from the microphone, remove these 4 screws that holding it to the frame. take the analog board out. Right, make sure to mark the wire color on the connector before removing them. Don't pull using the wire, pull using the connector. Let's see how to check the USB cable of Blue Yeti microphone. To check the USB cable, I'm going to use female connectors of each of these male connectors of the USB cable. This is the Type A USB 2.0 female port. This is the Type B USB port or the socket. I'm going to plug each one of these sockets to the corresponding male jack. Now let's check the continuity between each of these pins. To check the continuity, I'm going to use the multimeter. I'm going to use a digital multimeter. You can use an analog multimeter as well. Put the multimeter on the continuity check mode or the buzzer mode. Then take these probes. Okay. I'm going to start with the body of the USB port right here. I'm going to touch the body of this port with one probe and the body of the other port with the other probe. As you can hear, we have continuity between the bodies of each port, which means the body connection of this wire is good. And I'm going to start with this pin right here. This is the plus 5 volt pin of the USB port. I'm going to touch the pin at the other end that connects to this pin right here with the other probe, which is the first pin. Right, as you can hear. Now there's the continuity, which means the wire is good. Let's move to the other pin, which is the data minus pin. It should be the pin next, right below the plus 5 pin. As you can hear, we have continuity there, which means that wire also good. Let's move to the next pin, which is the data plus pin. It is the pin, it is the middle pin of the first row. As you can hear, we have continuity there. The last pin is the minus pin. Okay, it should be connected to the first row, last pin. Sorry about that. As you can hear, there are also the continuity, which means we have a good USB cable. Let's see how to troubleshoot offline. This is the safest way to troubleshoot your Blue Yeti microphone. Let's check the connection between the USB port and the Blue Yeti microphone's digital board. We are going to check the Blue Yeti microphone offline, which means the microphone is not connected to the PC while we check or troubleshoot the microphone. First, connect the cables, and I'm going to connect Type A USB female socket to the male Type A male connector at the other end of the cable, so I have the access to the pins. The first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to check the connection between the cable cable and the USB port. To do that, I'm going to use a digital multimeter. Put your multimeter on the continuity checking mode or the buzzer mode. I'm going to start with this pin right here, which is the plus 5 volt pin. It should be connected to this pad right here. Sorry. Alright, as you can hear, we have continuity. I'm going to move to the next pin, which is the data minus pin. It should be connected to this pin pad right here. Alright, I'm going to move to the next pin, which is the data plus pin. It should be the middle pin right here, which means we have continuity. Finally, we are going to check the last pin, which is the minus pin. It should be connected to this pad right here. As you heard, we have continuity in all these pins, which means the connectivity between the USB cable and the USB port is good. If there was no sound on a pin, which means there is a bad connection between the USB cable and the port. To fix it, you need to replace the USB port. Let's check the connection between the pins of the USB port and the corresponding components that they are connected to at the other end. I'm going to check the connectivity between the USB port and the components of the PCB. To do that, I'm going to use the same mode, the continuity mode in the multimeter. Starting with this pin, the other to the components pad. As you can hear, we have the continuity, which means we have good connection between this pad and the components pad. I'm going to the next pad, which is the data plus pad of the USB port. It should be connected to the 19th pin of this IC. Alright. I'm going to move to the next pad, which is the data minus pad. It should be connected to the 20th pin of this IC. As you can see, we have a good trace path between these two pads. The last one is the 5 volt pad. It should be connected to here, as you can hear. Then I'm going to check here. So we have good connection between the components and this USB port. Let's see how to check for short circuit in Blue Yeti microphone digital board. If there is a short circuit in the microphone, these coils can be damaged due to the high current flow through these SMD coils. So to check that, put your multimeter on the resistor mode and take the probes of your multimeter and touch each pad of the SMD coil and check the resistance. It should be near 0, as you can see. As you can see, we have very low resistance between the pads of the coils. This is not the proper way to check the coils, but you can get a basic idea about the coil. That's how we check the coils using a normal multimeter. If there is a short circuit, you can also check that. Put your multimeter on the resistance mode and put one probe, this pad right here, and put the other to this pad. If the value is near 0, which means we have short circuit, we have a value over 1K. Alright, I'm going to the next coil. Okay, check the resistance between these 2 points. If the resistance is near to 0 ohms, which means we have a short circuit. In this case, we don't have that, which means there's no short circuit between these 2 points. It doesn't mean the circuit is good. There are also the open circuits. If there is a short circuit, it can be any IC or any capacitor on this board. It requires more troubleshooting. For this tutorial, I'm not going into that further. Alright, that's how you perform a basic troubleshooting on your Blue Yeti microphone. Let's see how to troubleshoot on a live Blue Yeti microphone digital board. In this troubleshooting method, you need to be careful with the handling of the multimeter probes. Any slip up can damage the circuit and its components. Alright, in this method, we are going to check the voltages while the microphone is connected to the PC. First, I'm going to connect the USB cable to the microphone. I take the black probe and touch this pin, and take the red probe and touch this pin. The multimeter should display 5 volts. If there is no 5 volt, which means the connection between the USB cable and the USB port in the microphone is bad. So to fix it, you have to replace the USB port. Okay, let's check the voltages between these 2 pads. That should also display 5 volts. If there is no 5 volt, which means the connection between the pads of these coils and the USB port are bad. In that case, you can solder a wire between the pads to fix it, but make sure there's no short circuit before you solder a wire. Right, put the black probe here and red probe here. This should also display 5 volts. If there's no 5 volt, solder a wire between these 2 pads if there is no short circuit. I'm going to the next step. I'm going to touch this pad using the black probe. It should also display 5 volts. Right. If not, this coil is bad. You can replace this coil if there is no short circuit beyond this point. Right, next I'm going to check the voltage between these 2 pads. Right, it should also display 5 volt. If not, this coil is bad. I'm going to the next point. Check the voltage between these 2 points. It should also display 5 volt. If not, this coil is bad. You need to replace it if there is no short circuit beyond this pad. These are the basic voltage checking steps you can follow to troubleshoot your Blue Yeti microphone. Let's see how to remove or desolder USB port of the microphone. To remove the USB port from the Blue Yeti microphone, I'm going to use a de-soldering pump. Alright, if you're not familiar with de-soldering pump, this is how it works. You push this rod until you hear the clicking sound. Once you've done that, the spring inside the de-soldering pump is compressed or charged. Now to release the spring, you press this button right here, which will create a vacuum inside the de-soldering pump, causing the solder at the nozzle to suck inside. The first thing you need to do is to take a normal soldering wire with flux in it. Usually the solder in this Blue Yeti microphone PCB have higher melting temperature, so that it required too much heat to melt this solder. We are going to use normal soldering wire and introduce this solder to the pads of the USB port like that, right? What you have to do is melt the solder, take the soldering iron away, then seal the pad with nozzle of the desoldering pump, then press the button like that. Do it few times until you can clearly see the other side through these holes. Right? Once you turn with the body pins, proceed to the data and power pins of the USB port. The other method is to use a hot air gun. If you're using a hot air gun, you need to apply some flux so that the solder can easily melt it. I'm using this soldering flux, but you can use any type of flux. Apply the flux, turn on your hot air gun, wait until the temperature reach to the desired temperature. Use a tweezer and put the tweezer inside the port. Move the PCB while the hot air being applied to the port pins. Don't place it at one place. While doing that, pull the USB port from the other side like that. As you can see, you were able to remove the USB port very easily. with the hot air gun. Let's see how to solder a new USB port to the Blue Yeti microphone. To put the new USB port to the PCB, first we need to carefully align the pins. Make sure the pins are not bended. First you need to put the data and power pins. Then you can go with the body pins. Move the port left and right while you're pushing it towards the PCB. Once you've done that, check whether the port is correctly seated on the PCB. Turn the board around, then you will see the pins from the other side. Alright, as you can see, these pins are not all the way through, but this is enough. Alright, to hold the USB port while I'm soldering it, I'm going to use this clip. Alright. I'm going to start with the body pads of the USB port. Take the soldering iron, heat the pin plus the pad. Once the heat is enough, you feed the soldering wire. I'm going to do the same to the other pins as well. Okay, now I'm going to do the data and power pins. For the body pins, I used 0.6mm soldering wire. For the data and power pins, I'm going to use 0.3 soldering wire. Alright, heat the pin plus the pad, then feed the solder and take the soldering iron away. Okay, like that. Solder every pin of the USB port. I have put back the digital board of the Blue Yeti microphone. Now it's time to connect the USB cable and check whether the mic works or not. Alright, as you can see, the red light, the mic works, and it detected by the PC. For more detailed version of this tutorial, including the various voltages and component values, please visit the website article. The links are in the description. If you like this video, please leave a like. If you're into electronic projects and repair tutorials, please subscribe to this channel. Thank you for watching. See you in the next tutorial. I'm Sana for learnitstepbystep.com.